Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and this is What If Deku Was the Shazam Who Laughs. This is an older video taken from the Golden Kingdom channel. That channel is going to be discontinued and it's going to be turned into the Fallen Kingdom, and I'll have a video up about that explaining it later on with my friend Xblick, who I'm doing it with. And speaking of Xblick, he will be the first person you hear in this video for half of the video, and then it's going to cut to me. Now this is a lot older of a video. This video is like over a year old at this point from when we recorded it, so it's back when I didn't have the best recording software or microphone like I do now, so if the audio quality is a little iffy here and there, just bear with me. I'm doing the best that I can in this video, but everything else will be smooth, and next week we will get right back to Batman Beyond Deku. So I hope you guys enjoy, and enjoy the video.
Where we're going to start the story off is with Izuku, as he's in the playground with his friends Bakugo and all of his friends. Izuku and Bakugo, they've been good friends for quite a few months now. They've been pretty good friends, but there's always been that kind of maliceful, deceitful and despiteful attitude that Bakugo has always had against Izuku, for the fact that he's always had a very heroic nature, like in canon. Except in this one, Izuku isn't just a nerd of real life heroes like All Might, Endeavor and all those guys. He's also a massive kind of fan and fanboy of comic book heroes from both the DC comics and from Marvel, and other comics as well. So he does really enjoy these kind of comics and these heroes, and he really looks up to them. And anyway, so as he kind of is at school one day, at preschool, he and Bakugo are just playing around as explosions start popping off of Bakugo's hands, which really excites him, as everyone's like, yo, Bakugo's got this really cool quirk, like, you're gonna be really cool one day, you're gonna be the greatest hero, pumping up Bakugo's massive ego and getting him to think that he's the best. That is until faint sparks of lightning and strange other things kind of form around Izuku. Strange lightning flickers around his arms, his legs, around his head and body start flickering around, little flickers of yellow. And everyone sees this and they're like thinking, yo, that is so cool, Izuku's got lightning? That is the coolest thing. And anyway, everybody is really freaking out, straying away from Bakugo and going towards Izuku, putting all of their attention into him, which really annoys Bakugo to absolute no end. The fact that Izuku, who's just got dumb kind of electricity, it looks like, sparks around him, that's nothing compared to his explosions. So, doing what any rational kid would do, he decides to charge towards Izuku, with him screaming out that he's gonna pay for being such a loser and such a Deku, as he launches out the biggest explosion he can, which isn't too big for the fact that he's 4 years old, but it is still enough for there to be smoke all around. As the explosion happens, everybody's freaking out, as the teachers are ready to reprimand Bakugo for what he's done, but they see that Izuku's completely fine. Nothing's really happened to him. There's not even a scratch on him, which really freaks out everyone. They're thinking like, but he's only got lightning, doesn't he? Like, what's going on? As Izuku, he gets annoyed and he pushes Bakugo away. But it doesn't just push him a few steps, it pushes him into the wall, smashing through it as he goes through multiple other walls. That's a bit much. He goes through one wall as he comes out the other side with kind of scratches and crack and like cuts and all those all over his body, him being kind of hurt. Izuku looking down and freaking out like, what happened? Like, I've only got electricity or something, don't know what's going on, why wasn't I hurt? And that is when the teachers then call up Izuku's mother, Inko. As this happens, Inko arrives and takes Izuku to the quirk doctor, where he is told that he's got an extremely incredible quirk. Like, they've never seen anything like it. He's not only got kind of electrical based powers, which he is able to both create and manipulate and freely control the lightning however he kind of likes. He's also got near invulnerability and durability, extreme kind of super strength and super speed, as well as possibly being able to fly, which surprises both Inko and Izuku. Them thinking like, yo, Izuku's got like a really cool quirk, and the doctors tell him like he's got an extreme amount of growth and potential. Like, they've never seen anything like his quirk. His quirk is incredible. Like, they have no idea what to call it or anything, as they ask Izuku what he would like to call it, and he thinks back to a hero which he really liked and admired, a comic hero from DC, as Izuku tells them he wants his quirk to be called Shazam. After a few years, they then have their final days of junior high, with Izuku being in class as the teacher walks in. Now, I would be able to kind of hand out these career aptitude tests or whatever, but I know you all want to go the hero route, as he tosses the sheets of paper into the air, them flinging all around as the students let off their quirks. Multiple of them being a fire quirk, a smoke kind of quirk, some guy having spiky hands, another person having rocky hands, and another person having a wooden face. Don't know what that would do to be a hero, but it could be helpful. As the teacher says, settle down. And I do see that 2 people in this class are going to settle down. Now, I do see that 2 people in this class are going to be applying for UA High. As everyone's wondering, like, who could it be? But then they immediately realize that they've got a monster in their class called Izuku Midoriya. So they all turn to him, kind of, not really glaring at him, but thinking like, this man could get in, no problem. Like, he is a monster. As he says, teacher says, yes, well, that is the case. Izuku Midoriya is coming, or going to UA, along with another student. Don't lump me in with these bunch of losers, teach. They're lucky to be some extra and some D-lister, and this Izuku? Pfft, I could end him no problem. He's nothing but a ant under my boot. I'm the best of the best here, you got it? I'm gonna be the #1 hero. Everyone in UA's gonna bow beneath me. I'm gonna be the best and the richest hero of all time, even surpassing All Might. Yes, I do see that, Bakugo, and I do see that you are going to UA High as well, or at least have applied for it, and from what I see, you are definitely qualified to go. With your explosion quirk and your high grades, there is no doubt in my mind that you will be able to get into UA High. Bakugo kind of smirking at this comment, and Izuku, he's just above and beyond with his incredible quirk and strength, and your grades are just phenomenal. You are an absolute, pretty much beast, Izuku Midoriya. But yeah, so that's pretty much that class, as the rest of the class goes on as normal. With the end of class happening, Bakugo doesn't really go up to Izuku because he knows he'll die. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. He just kind of leaves, with Izuku leaving as well. After this, Izuku then goes kind of heading home as he goes under a bridge. Him sensing something behind him, but not really paying much attention to it until a manhole cover bursts open with a gigantic green sludge launching onto Izuku. Him not being phased at all. The sludge villain trying to get in, saying like, "Give me your body, kid. I'd know that Frank was in town. You can be my hero, you'll be the perfect bodysuit," etc., like that. But it's not phasing Izuku, as the sludge villain tries to kind of get in, and I'm trying to make this not sound disgusting, but as he tries to like take over Izuku's body, he then feels a small sharp pain kind of inside of him, not really knowing what's going on, before a lightning bolt strikes him, frying the sludge villain and exploding him everywhere, as Izuku just shakes off whatever remnants of the sludge villain are left as he prepares to walk home. As he prepares this, or as he starts walking, he then hears something behind him. "Have no fear. Why? Because I am here." As he kind of hears this, he turns around to see his idol, the #1 hero, All Might. And he doesn't fanboy, because he's legendary, he's manly, so he doesn't kind of fanboy, he does have restraint, as All Might kind of looks around, wondering like, "Excuse me, young man, if you see a strange sludge villain anywhere," as Izuku looks around as he just points, saying, there, and, oh yeah, over there. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of him over there, and, up there on the roof as well, yeah. As All Might looks around, completely shocked, seeing the bazillion different pieces of the sludge villain scattered around the area. Him not really knowing what happened, is like, "Excuse me, young man, did you do this?" "Well, yes, it depends what you're gonna say depends what's gonna happen to me if I say yes." "Don't worry, young man, you'll be completely fine. It was in self-defense. Anyway, what's your quirk that you were able to do this?" "Well, my quirk's called Shazam, sir. It allows me to use electricity, or lightning, super strength, super speed, and fly. Oh yeah, I'm also they're invulnerable as well." As All Might kind of looks at him, thinking damn, this kid could be a success or whatever, but then he also thinks no, he should be fine. He seems pretty strong already, so if I was to give it to him, and he hasn't really shown he's got kind of the heroic heart either, so until he's shown that, he won't give him one for all. But as this happens, he's like, "Alright, well, thank you for taking down this villain, young man." Izuku's like, "Yeah, that's cool. Firstly, do you need help with packing all this up? And secondly, can I get your autograph?" As he quickly hands out a notebook in front of All Might, with All Might not really taken aback by this, but he's like, "Oh, alright. Yes, young man. And thank you, of course. I'll take your help any day." As All Might signs his notebook, and they both clean up the sludge villain before Izuku heads home. The Bakugo sludge villain accident doesn't happen because All Might doesn't have any reason to drop the bottles. I'm not going to make him magically drop the bottles, because as much as everyone wants to admit it, All Might isn't an idiot. So yeah, he wouldn't just randomly drop the bottles. And lastly, yeah, he just kind of gets home and prepares himself for the UA entrance exams. After this little occurrence with All Might happens, Izuku goes back home as he prepares himself for the UA entrance exams. Over this time, he trains a bit, but not too much. He studies more than training, as he knows he's got the physical capabilities to get in. He's just wanting to get that kind of test, the written test, over and done with, and making sure he's got every single possibility of getting in. No problems. Over this time, he also kind of goes to Dagobah Beach, seeing that it does need cleaning, and he decides to clean it. He goes down there and helps cleaning it out, seeing that it could also be some good strength training as well. Not that he needs strength training, since he can lift an entire building with one hand, but yeah, he still decides to, tries, help out the community as much as he can. After the 10 months are up, it is finally time for the UA entrance exams. With Izuku arriving, he sees Bakugo immediately. Bakugo just looking at him and giving him a strong scowl. Not really paying him much mind, Izuku just walks into the auditorium to see President Mike. After this, he quickly explains the written exam, where he goes in and does it, getting a decent score, getting probably about 90, 95, maybe 98% of the answers correct. I'm not gonna lie, he's not a complete super whiz. Shazam wasn't a complete super whiz, even though he's not supposed to be a carbon copy. He's still not the smartest kid. He would get probably about 97%, I'd say. So he gets that much, which is still incredible. But anyway, he does get that, which is very good, as he then goes back to the auditorium, where he hears President Mike explaining the exam. Once he gets there and President Mike starts explaining, he goes over the 1-pointer, the 2-pointer, and the 3-pointer robot, preparing to go on before a reasonably tall man, or boy with blue hair and glasses, decides to stand up, complaining that he hasn't explained the 4th robot on the page. If this is a kind of a fault by UA, it is extremely unprofessional, and the school shouldn't be held in the highest regard that it is. President Mike explaining to him that it is just a 0-pointer and they should avoid it. It is not giving any points, so they should just avoid it at all costs. Ida nodding his head and sitting down. I haven't explained Izuku's height. Izuku's probably about 6 foot. No, not 6 foot. He'd be about 5'10", about 5'10", and he's extremely muscular. Like, this man is built like a truck. So yeah. Anyway, so that is Izuku, and so after this, he does go out as President Mike explains the rest of the entrance or rest of the exam as they go out to their different fields. Once this happens, Izuku goes out as he sees a girl shaking nervously, like she seems very nervous. As he prepares to walk over, he feels a slight pull on his shoulder. He's not really sure. As he turns around to see that same boy from before holding onto his shoulder. "Excuse me, sir, but I'm not going to allow you to sabotage that girl from passing the test." "What are you talking about? I was just gonna..." She looks nervous, like, look at her. "I was just gonna try and calm her down." Who'd want to sabotage somebody? Like, that's not a heroic thing to do. Like, who would want to sabotage anyone? As he says, "Well, I'm still not going to allow you to talk to her, as it might disrupt her ability to get into the school." "Yeah, whatever." As Izuku just shrugs off his hand off his shoulder as he walks towards the girl. "Hi, are you nervous?" "Oh, hi, yeah, sorry, is it that noticeable?" No, it's fine. Anyway, you really shouldn't be nervous. We all are, but you have every right to be here, the same as everyone else. So, don't worry, just keep your head held high and give it your absolute all." As she just nods her head, kind of thanking him. As this happens, Izuku then sees something in front of him as the doors start opening. Without even waiting for the doors to completely finish opening, he dashes through, escaping everyone's sight as a gigantic hole blasts through the doors, just leaving a gigantic crater in the doors. Doesn't make much of a sense, but pretty much a giant hole was blasted through the doors. As everyone sees, all the robots in front of them have just been completely eviscerated. Lightning circulating all around them, some of them having giant holes across their bodies, other of them having giant burn marks and electricity just slammed through them, and others just being torn straight in half. As this happens, the teachers from the teachers' lounge are looking down as they're seeing Izuku flying around, just shocking all of the robots, punching them, kicking them, throwing them into the air before grabbing another one and throwing it, hitting the robot in the air like a baseball and slamming it into the ground. Both robots being obliterated on contact. After this, he then shoots other lightning bolts and other sparks of lightning at other robots, as he uses a lightning bolt to circulate around multiple robots, blowing them all up, making it a complete breeze. The teachers being very impressed with Nezu stating, Izuku Midoriya, what's his quirk? Well, it says his quirk is called Shazam. Apparently it gives him the ability to control lightning, as well as having super strength, super speed, super durability, and being able to fly. Very, very powerful, it seems. It does seem that he's got a very powerful quirk. Well, we should keep monitoring him and see how it goes. As this happens, about 8 minutes pass, as Izuku, after getting about 200 points, decides it's probably enough and should probably let everyone else get some points. As he kind of waits around about the 10-minute mark, he then starts feeling a rumbling as he's just looking around before seeing a giant explosion in the distance. Seeing what President Mike called the zero pointer. Doesn't really look like a zero pointer, it's a gigantic robot. If people avoided that, that could hurt people. So that's kind of what's going through Izuku's mind. So doing what every rational person would do, he charges straight for it. As he goes into it, punching it multiple times, blowing massive holes in the robot. As he looks down to see the girl behind him, as she's stuck under a rock. The girl from before, the brunette, as he quickly dashes down, breaking the sound barrier immediately. As he blasts down, pretty much appearing right in front of the girl, as the rubble's already been flung off of her, as she doesn't even know what's going on, as Izuku grabs onto her and he speeds off, landing in front of the gates, placing her down, before then charging towards the robot once again. This all happening in the fraction of about 3 seconds, so no one really knows what happened. As this happens, Izuku decides it's enough and is enough. Like, he's had his fun, but this could probably hurt other people and cause more damage. So he decides to charge up to the robot, punching it square in the face before screaming Shazam! As a gigantic lightning bolt strikes from the sky, hitting the robot, blasting it into pieces. It being blasted apart, with it being a controlled explosion, but not that controlled, as pretty much the entire robot just explodes. Tiny fragments of it going everywhere, with only its tracks being left. And not even a lot of the tracks, like the middle of the robot's gone, the tracks are just kind of laying there with half of them gone. So Izuku flies back down, landing on the ground, letting off a satisfied smile. After he kind of lands down, he checks on Uraka, seeing if she's alright, and gives her to Recovery Girl, making sure that she will recover safely. After this, he then decides to go home, getting there and waiting for the next weeks. After the kind of few weeks have passed, he then gets a letter in the mail. He and his mother opening it up, as it is then kind of shown that he didn't only get into UA, but got the number 1 score in the entrance exam, getting 230 villain points and 85 hero points, getting an overall amount of nearly 300 points overall, nearly beating All Might's score. After seeing this, they both get super excited and decide to have a treat and kind of go out for dinner. After about a week or so, Izuku finally arrives to UA High School, as he looks around seeing the different things that are going on before going into class. Taking a little while to find his class, but he actually looked at the map this time, so he figured it out very quickly where his class was, flying through the different corridors before finally arriving at the gigantic door labeled 1A, thinking like, are there giants in this class or something? Like, what? Why would you need a door this big? As he walks in, Bakugo and the blue-haired boy from before arguing at each other. Bakugo having his feet on the desk, and Ida being Ida. As he walks, kind of opens up the door and sees us, they both look over. Ida, seeing that's the guy, walks over and starts introducing himself, but Izuku isn't superly interested, as Bakugo kind of just scowls. After this, Izuku feels a tap on his shoulder as he sees the girl he saved, as she introduces herself as Ochako Uraraka, and he introduces himself as Izuku Midoriya before then seeing the teacher behind him. As he sees the guy behind him, Izuku then kind of looks as the man stands up, saying that his name is Shota Aizawa, their homeroom teacher. Everyone being slightly shocked for a second, but then are soon interrupted by him telling them that they will be doing a quirk apprehension test, which they're a bit confused of, like, why don't they go to orientation, with him explaining that they don't have time for that utter nonsense and they need to go and kind of train immediately. The kind of effort and the training and the hard work didn't stop when they got into UA, it has just begun. With him throwing the shirt at Izuku as they go down and get changed. Once they all kind of get changed and head out, Aizawa explains that they will be doing multiple different tests, with him throwing a softball at Izuku, asking how far did he get in a softball throw in junior high. Izuku saying, holding back and trying to not use his powers, he got about 370 meters, shocking everyone. Aizawa's kind of surprised, and everyone is very surprised, as he then says, alright, this time go all out, do not hold anything back, just step in the circle, anything goes. Izuku nodding as he walks up, reeling his hand back as lightning kind of flickers all around the ball and around his arm as he launches it, everyone being blown back by the force of it as lightning strikes from his hand, kind of strike down into the ground and around him as the ball soars off like a lightning bolt, soaring into the sky as Aizawa looks to his phone as a few seconds later, he then shows everyone the screen. Infinity. Everyone completely stunned as they're kind of freaking out, but also thinking like, yo, this is going to be cool, they're going to be able to use their quirks, this is going to be so much fun. That word kind of putting Aizawa in a bad mood as he kind of says, fun, eh? Well, how about this? The person that comes in last place will be expelled from UA High on the spot. Everyone completely stunned by this then realizes that they are in UA, so they will be treated as such. So they definitely get into high gear, trying as much as they can. Izuku then kind of goes to the different races, with it being the 500 meter or 50 meter dash. Him getting there in about 0.5 seconds. I'm not kidding, like, Shazam is he's pretty much Superman but with lightning. He's not Superman with lightning, like, Superman could end him, but he is like it. No one in this series can stand up to him. Or in this show, yeah. He gets there in 0.5 seconds, completely shocking everyone. With the grip strength, he crushes the machine no problem. with the long distance jump or long jump, he just flies over it, and with all the other tests, the side lunges, he's a literal blur. He's creating after images, so yeah, it's not much of a struggle, as at the end of it, it is very obvious Izuku comes in first. Like, no chance. Izuku comes in first place, with Yamamoto coming in second, Todoroki coming in third, and Bakugo coming in fourth, etc, etc. Until last place is Minoru Mineta, as he is sweating bullets, tears nearly swelling up in his eyes as Aizawa deaths him. Yeah, also like that thing I said about the whole expulsion thing, yeah, that was a lie. It was just a logical rules to make you try your hardest. With everyone being kind of shocked, or not shocked, kind of shocked, very shocked. Izuku didn't really care. He thought it was a little bit unfair that the others would have to pay for the fact that they weren't kind of strong, or weren't kind of strong enough to be able to get past this. Maybe their quirks weren't fit for it. But he didn't think that he would kind of not fail it. He knew he was extremely strong. So, yeah. Anyway, Izuku then decides that after this, kind of goes back to class, with everyone else going back to class and the rest of their classes going on as normal, until the last lesson of the day is kind of, as this happens, everyone kind of freaks out, saying, yo, it's all my number one hero, whoa, it's so cool, like the rumors were true that he's going to be in here, with Izuku kind of fanboying out, but also keeping his cool since he's cool. But yeah, so Izuku, he does kind of freak out, and everyone else freaks out as well, with All Might doing his cool little march towards the center of, or front of the class. Alright, today this class will be what I like to call Heroing 101, or the Hero Basic Training. Now, today we will be doing a physical exercise, so get on your hero costumes. As the others like to say, the clothes make the pros, so get them on, you bunch of newbies. As this happens, everyone gets their hero costumes on, with Izuku's hero costume literally being Shazam. Like, it's literally Shazam. So, yeah, like, there isn't much else to say, but yeah, he's literally got the Shazam costume. It's red and everything. Like, I'm not going to change it. The green kind of looks, in my personal opinion, it isn't as cool as the red. So he's got the red Shazam costume. As everyone is admiring each other's costumes, and Ochako runs up to Izuku saying, like, yo, like, your costume's so cool, Izuku. My costume's a bit tight. Like, I don't think they got the measurements right. I didn't describe it as well as I probably should have, with Izuku saying probably, yeah. But oh well, it looks good. With the rest of the students complimenting each other's costumes. After this, All Might then kind of lets everyone compliment each other's costumes before then announcing that they will be doing a ones versus ones contest. Everyone kind of, or not ones versus ones, 2v2 contest, sorry. The 2 versus 2 team battle, as they will be doing heroes versus villains. The heroes will be trying to invade the base, but the villains will be trying to protect the bomb and defeat the heroes. As is kind of announced, the rest of the teams kind of go as normal, with Izuku being with Ochako and the other teams being normal. Izuku and Ochako are then declared to be going up against Bakugo and Ida. Those two kind of sweating bullets. Bakugo, having the kind of extremely arrogant and confident attitude he has, still doesn't realize that Izuku is the far stronger person, so he decides that he will be charging towards Izuku at full throttle, and that he is stronger than him and he'll be no challenge. So the villains are let up to the top of the base with Bakugo and Ida going to the top of the base and setting up the bomb and the different rooms. As this happens, Izuku and Ochako kind of come up with a plan. Izuku saying that he can fly them both up there, and Ochako can be the distraction as Ochako can touch the bomb. Ochako kind of agreeing with this plan since she didn't have a better one, so he decides to do that. As All Might declares for them to go, he grabs Ochako, kind of flying them up. As they go up, he then shoots a lightning bolt straight through the glass as it hits Bakugo square in the kind of side, blasting him into a wall. After this happens, he then kind of jumps inside, letting Ochako kind of stand there as he then charges towards Ida, punching towards Ida, letting a giant blast of wind hit him, sending him into a wall as well, knocking him out. As this happens, Ochako is running towards the bomb before they then hear explosions, as they hear Deku! Before Izuku then turns around, grabbing Bakugo by the face and slamming him into the ground, kinda brutally, before then letting off a small electrical discharge, knocking out Bakugo, if the slams at the ground didn't knock him out already. As this happens, Ochako touches the bomb, declaring their win. After this, the rest of the kind of fights go the same, with them critiquing the fight, but it couldn't really have been critiqued that much, since there was nothing that those two could have done against Izuku. Like, the man's a freak of nature. So Yamamoto, she says, like, you know, Izuku could have been a little bit lighter on those two since they are his teammates, but he also dealt with it like a hero should have, and dealt with it like it was a true hero bout, and it seems that he's got extreme control over his lightning. So that's that. With the rest of the fights going the same, Shoto freezing over his kind of building. The rest of the fights, Mina burning Aoyama's cape and annoying him, etc, etc, with the rest of the fights finishing. After this, they're then given a few weeks until it is declared that they will be going to an off-campus facility where they will be doing rescue training. As this happens, they then go. After this, a few days pass as Aizawa walks into class, stating that they will be doing the most grueling challenge that they have ever done here at their time at UA. They'll be picking their class president. Everyone cheering, saying like, yo, normal school stuff, which I really don't get. They decided to go to a hero school. What did they expect? But anyway, they all kind of try and pick themselves, saying that they should be class president. That is until Ida kind of suggests something, saying that they should do a vote. Everyone thinking that's a great idea. As the votes go in, it is then tallied up with Izuku coming in first and Yamamoto coming in second, with the vice president Izuku becoming president and Yamamoto being vice president. As soon as this is declared, Izuku just raises his hand saying, yeah, as much as I would like to take this, like, there are much better options. Like, Ida, for example, he's literally made to be the class president. Like, look at him. He's the literal definition of class president. Pick him. My first declaration as class president is to make Tenya Ida class president. So, that's done, pretty much. As soon as kind of Izuku got class president, he gave it away. So, Ida is now the class president. After this, they are then sent out to lunch, where they're talking, and Ida reveals that he's from a hero family, which kinda doesn't really shock anyone. Like, everyone's like, yeah, it made sense. Izuku even bringing it up, like, he's got the same quirk as Ingenium. He's got the same kind of armor as Ingenium. He even like has the same name as Ingenium, so it would kind of make sense that his name was or he was at least related to Ingenium in some way. But yeah, so that pretty much happens. Uraraka being completely dumbfounded and had no idea. But yeah, so as this is kind of happening, giant alarms go off with the lights, red lights flashing around the cantina. Everyone freaking out, saying that it's a hero attack or a villain attack. As this is happening, Izuku kind of just sits there thinking, one, they're a hero school, so why are they freaking out? Two, they've got All Might on campus, so why are they freaking out? But anyway, as this happens, he then looks out to see that it is the press outside. So he decides to do the most logical thing and grab Ida and fly up, showing him that it is just the press and getting Ida to speak out. Him telling them that it's all the press, just holding on to Izuku, or kind of Izuku holding on to him, with Ida telling them all that it is just the press and not to freak out. Everyone listening to him and then getting the kind of role of class president kind of certified as they realize, yeah, he probably should have gotten it. But anyway, that is that as the rest of the class and day goes on. After this, they then have a few days or weeks of class until it is then revealed that they will be going to an off-campus facility to do rescue training with another hero who will be there. As this happens, everyone kind of is excited, wondering who is going to be there, like who's going to be the teacher, who's going to be looking after them or whatever, and what is this facility that they will be going to. As this happens, they then are then put onto the bus in their hero costumes, with them all sitting around together, and Uraraka bringing up the question, who do they think is the strongest beside Izuku? Because everyone knows Izuku is by far the strongest, no one can compete against him. So apart from Izuku, they then kind of contest, saying that like Bakugo would be strong, but he's got a horrible attitude, so sucks for him. But yeah, so that kind of happens like that. They then get off the bus after having conversations, and after about half an hour to an hour passes, with them arriving to a gigantic dome-like building, with them seeing the rescue hero 13 standing outside. Uraraka is completely freaking out, since 13's her favorite hero, and she's always looked up to her as a rescue hero, so that's what Uraraka wants to be. After this, 13 explains that this is the USJ, with everyone thinking Universal Studios Japan, but it is actually the unforeseen simulation joint. So that's kind of the dumb joke out of the way, with them kind of being led in, telling 13 them about the USJ and how it works and what they're going to be doing there, and how they will be doing rescue training with multiple different areas around them for doing multiple situations. As this happens, Kirishima then points down, saying, yo, they've even got fake villains as well, that's so cool. As Aizawa looks down, he then states like, those are no normal fake villains. As he tells Ida, like, oh, 13, he tells 13, like, 13, protect the kids, with that happening. As soon as this happens, they then see multiple villains step out before they're then wiped out. A gigantic lightning bolt striking down and obliterating all the villains pretty much immediately, shocking them and knocking them out. As soon as that happens, the kind of two other people stand out. A man with strange hands all over his body and a gigantic hulking figure. As soon as this happens, Izuku looks at Aizawa, asking him if he should finish the job, and Aizawa says, alright, just stick with me. As this happens, Kurogiri steps in. Oh, where do you think you're going? I'm sorry, but you will not be going anywhere, Mr. Eraserhead. As soon as this happens, Izuku then lights lightning all around his body, shooting lightning out of his hand and blasting Kurogiri in the middle point, sending him flying. As soon as that happens, he then charges down, charging towards Shigaraki, who he thinks is the main boss. As this happens, the Nomu then steps in front of him. As he punches the Nomu, it actually skids back a small bit, concerning Shigaraki a bit, thinking like, there's no way this kid could be stronger than All Might. Like, this thing was made for All Might. There's no way he could beat it. But oh boy is he wrong, as Izuku flies up, grabbing the Nomu by the head and flinging it up in the air before then appearing behind it and slamming it into the ground as he charges down, shooting lightning bolts into the Nomu, blasting it as it just gets blasted into the ground, cratering it, as he then charges down like a meteor, blasting into the Nomu, not even giving it a chance to recover. As he goes into it, he grabs it, sliding it across the ground before then grabbing electricity, all coursing through his hands and stabbing it into the Nomu's brain as it fries the Nomu's brain, exploding all over the front of the USJ, around the kind of fountain and all of that. As Shigaraki sees this, he's kind of freaking out, thinking there's no way this kid just beat the Nomu and no way he did it that easily. The rest of the students and the teachers are just completely befuddled that he did that so easily. With everyone kind of freaking out, a portal then appears behind Shigaraki before the rest of the students are portaled everywhere. So Izuku doesn't know or before Izuku can really notice, the rest of the students are teleported around the USJ. As soon as this happens, Shigaraki is dragged into the portal as this strange gas fills the USJ, concerning the students and concerning everyone around, as they're wondering what is going on, and they're not really sure what is happening. As this happens, Izuku quickly realizes that this isn't good, as he charges in, charging around the area at blinding speeds, charging around, grabbing all the students, all the heroes, everybody, and blitzing them outside. As he gets there, as he's blitzing around trying to get all the students out, he grabs all of them and gets outside, checking if there's anyone else in there, as he sees something in the portal, which he sees the room is completely full of gas at this point. As soon as that happens, he then sees a strange light come from the portal. As he breathes in, gasping and realizing what's going to happen, as the entire area explodes. The entire USJ detonates, exploding, leaving only a crater with Izuku standing in the middle of it. As everybody sees him down there, his clothes burnt and his kind of body scorched, but it looks like nothing really happened to him. He's just covered in char. Doesn't even seem affected. As everyone looks down, Aizawa running down, asking Izuku, like, "Hey kid, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine."
From there, Aizawa would get everybody out of the building. They would make sure that Deku is looked after by the paramedics when they arrive, checking everything, and they say everything seems fine with him. They don't know what that weird gas was, but from what they can tell, he's 100% healthy. And they ask if they would like for him to come to the hospital so they can do a thorough evaluation, and Deku says, "No, it's fine. I'm practically invulnerable, so nothing would really hurt me. I'm sure it's just nothing. That gas was probably just a flammable." They say, "Yeah, you're most likely right." And so from there, everything goes pretty much normally. The students go to school the next day, as they're told that even though they had a villain attack and even though the USJ is blown completely to ashes, there's nothing left of the building. He says they're still going to be holding the sports festival, so they'll be giving people time to train. However, during this time, something weird would happen to Izuku, as he notices his skin is starting to kind of turn a lot more pale than what it normally is, as he can also tell something's not right with his mind. He's starting to think of doing terrible things, and all throughout his training, he gets way more brutal, sadistic. He enjoys causing pain, as he would go to these underground fight clubs all the time and just beat the shit out of people, absolutely dismantling them. As this would be kind of fun for him, and every time he would get into a fight, he'd just keep laughing uncontrollably, and then when he wakes up the next morning, he's back to normal. It's a slow and progressive thing, but he is changing, and Deku says, "It feels good, liberating. I feel like I can finally be my true self. All this hero that and hero this, it's all utter nonsense. Bullshit. I'll show them all at the sports festival just how free I really am." Therefore, the sports festival arrives. It's the first day, as everyone is looking forward to it. It's going to be great. Everyone is so full of hope, being able to showcase what they have. While Class 1A is in there just getting ready, Shoto comes up to Izuku and says, "You know, you might just be the absolute strongest in this class, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up on going head to head and eventually beating you. There's other ways of beating you than with brute force. If I can outsmart you, then I can win. Take this as my declaration of war." As Bakugo would come right on up and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you're not the only one declaring war on this asshole. I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna be number one, Deku." As Deku just smiles and laughs a little bit, saying, "Well, if you insist, I'll take both of you on. Actually, I'll take on everyone in this whole class. The only place you guys are gonna find is right underneath my boot. All of you are side characters compared to me." As he would laugh, he would just exit the door, and people would say, "What's wrong with Izuku? He's not really acting like that. He's never been like that, has he?" Everyone says, "No, this is a first. It's like his personality made a 180, but for the worse." Everyone would be a little bit worried, but just say that he must just be feeling pretty confident after tanking an explosion that big. And they really don't think nothing else of it, as all the classes get called to the arena by midnight, who then explains the rules of the sports festival and spins the wheel as it lands on an obstacle race. As Deku just thinks to himself, "An obstacle race? Yeah, like this is any challenging." So, what Izuku decides to do is to have a little bit of fun. So, as soon as they start the race, Deku flies up and starts shooting lightning at everybody. This catches Shoto off guard the most, since it interrupts his plan to just immediately freeze everything, since the lightning strike comes down and creates a huge crater in the ground. As everyone is terrified of what just happened, even the spectators say, "Isn't that kid going a little bit too far?" As Deku just keeps laughing as he flies up ahead, throwing lightning bolt after lightning bolt. And when he gets up to the cross section, he takes his time and he cuts every single rope, making it nearly impossible for anyone without a good quirk to get by whatsoever. And so this would eliminate over half of the contestants right then and there. Of course, Todoroki does help out most of the people in Class 1A and 1B before his ice melts, as none of the other kids outside of the hero course would actually attempt to walk on Todoroki's ice, as pretty much the only people that would pass would be Class 1A, Class 1B, Shinzo, and Mei Hatsume. As Deku's sitting there waiting for them in first place, he's like, "What took you so long? I've been waiting here for ages." As Midnight declares that that's everybody, as She says that Izuku now has a 10 million point bounty on his head. Deku kind of just gets super excited as she says the next contest is a cavalry battle, as Deku just groans as this isn't something he can really win by himself. So he has to team up with at least 2 other people. And the 2 people he does decide to team up with would be Uraka and Mei, as he says, "Now this is a treat, getting 2 babes by my side. Oh yes, just like the heroes always wanted." As they say, "Are you sure that's what heroes would always want?" As Deku says, "Well, it's what I'd always want, and I am a hero, aren't I?" So Deku is just kind of laughing a little bit as he just tells them to hold on to him, as he sits Uraka up on his shoulders as she holds on for dear life, as Mei just pretty much is carried bridal style in Deku's arms. From there, he just stays up in the air until the event's over, saying that was the easiest win of his life. It was an absolute bore. There was nothing going on. No type of real contest. From there, everyone who passed in canon would still pass. From there, they learn that it's going to be 1v1 individual battles, as this is what Deku's been waiting for. Finally, some real excitement. As on their way to the locker rooms, Naomasa actually comes to see All Might, saying that he has some very, very bad news, and he needs All Might down at the station ASAP. As All Might leaves the sports festival along with Nezu, they go down to the police station where Naomasa fills them in, saying that that gas that was released at the USJ is being released all over the city. People are starting to go insane. Their skin is going pale. They're becoming the worst versions of themselves, committing unspeakable acts of evil, and the city is getting overrun. And that's what leads him to All Might. He needs him to help restrain people. And at the end of the day, these are all civilians, not hardened criminals or villains. However, Nezu gets a really big chill down his spine, saying, "Did you just say pale white skin? And what about laughter?" As Naomasa says, yes, they do seem to be laughing uncontrollably. As Nezu's fur stands on edges, he says, "Oh no, this is going to end very badly." As All Might says, "Why? What's wrong, Nezu?" As Nezu explains the changes in Izuku, his skin, it's pure white. As for him laughing uncontrollably, what he did during the race at the sports festival, it's something unlike him completely. It's as if he's the worst version of himself. This is what gets Naomasa's attention as he says, "Oh no, if someone with his quirk and his powers could get infected, then I don't think even All Might would be able to stand a chance against him. We have to go back. We have to get this under control now." All Might, understanding the situation, gets serious as he blitzes around town, incapacitating all the civilians. Meanwhile, at the sports festival, Deku is going up against Shinzo, as he just looks at him, as Shinzo says, "It must be so great, being born with a quirk like that. Practically invulnerable. You're basically a god among men. Am I right?" As Deku would just say, "Well, you're certainly not wrong." As Shinzo thinks, "Gotcha." As he continues to say, "Now, eliminate yourself." However, nothing happens, as Deku just stares at him and says, "Really? Is that it? That's your big plan?"
You're a bigger idiot than I thought. Part of my quirk is complete resistance to other people's quirks. That's part of my immunity. As Shinzo realizes how badly he messed up, with Izuku just cracking his fist, he blitzes over there and punches Shinzo right in the stomach, causing him to just spit out blood, as he then backhands Shinzo, and before he can go out of bounds, he grabs Shinzo's leg and slams him into the concrete before breaking Shinzo's leg. Hearing Shinzo cry out in pain, Deku decides to grab him by the back of his head and zap him until Shinzo's completely unconscious, and then throw him out of the ring, saying, "I'm done with this broken toy. Bring on the next!" However, Midnight would say, "You're gonna have to wait your turn, and that was way too excessive. We should disqualify you right here and right now." As Deku just stares at Midnight, almost daring her to do it. However, Midnight just says that the winner is Izuku Midoriya. From there, the other fights all pretty much go as in canon. However, when Deku goes back to the waiting room, he looks at Endeavor staring him down, as Endeavor says, "You know, you're completely different from the boy that my Shoto described you as. However, the way you are now, I'd say you're exactly what he needs in order to move past this hurdle that he's been dealing with. You see, he hasn't been using his full power. However, I'm sure when he does, you will stand no chance. After all, you're just a court jester compared to my Shoto." As Deku says, "A court jester? Now that's funny. It's also funny how you think you're so high and mighty." It's quite pathetic, really. All you can do is just sit there, running your mouth. "Oh, I'm going to surpass All Might this, All Might that. Shoto this, Shoto that." You're nothing but a pathetic muse. Just a pretender who just got lucky enough to land at number 2. However, your Shoto won't be coming back unharmed. I hope you're prepared. After all, you might have his funeral today. Oh, this is turning out to be so much fun. As Endeavor just looks at Izuku, he says, "What type of insanity is this? How could they have allowed someone like you into UA, much less being their number 1 student?" Nezu is losing it these days. As Endeavor goes to turn away, Deku grabs his shoulder and says, "Oh, we're not done yet, big boy. We're gonna play." As he just straight up uppercuts Endeavor, shooting him right out of the building, as Deku flies up there and just starts beating Endeavor down. Left, right, electricity fuming all over Deku's fist. And to top it all off, just with one word, Shazam! A huge lightning bolt strikes Endeavor, driving him into the ground unconscious, barely alive. And all of the people are just awestruck. However, Deku is no longer on UA grounds. He punched Endeavor so far that they went into the city. As Deku just looks around, he knows what's going on. Everyone's becoming just like me. Oh, this is marvelous. However, there can only be one. And so, Deku decides to leave them be for now, as he heads back to UA premises where the sports festival is being held, leaving Endeavor bloodied, broken, and at the mercy of the civilians, who end up finishing the job. As Deku heads back. He makes it just in time to see Todoroki nearly kill Sero, just freezing him in what looks like an absolute ice block. This just brings a smile to Deku's face, saying, "Well, it's about time you give in to your primal instincts." As he just can't help but smile and laugh. He's having a blast. Everyone's becoming more violent, more like him as every match goes on. He then sees Bakugo versus Uraraka, smiling as Bakugo is mercilessly going at Uraraka, defeating her without holding anything back. However, Deku realizes that nobody here is really going to be that much of a challenge to him. And so, Deku waits for his next match, up against Shoto Todoroki. From here, Deku just walks into there saying, "You know, this is going to be over very quickly if you don't make things a little bit more interesting. After all, your dear old dad and I just had a talk. Well, I don't think he'll be alive for much longer." Shoto says, "What do you mean by that? What did you do to my father?" Midnight hears this and says, "Izuku, what did you do?" And he says, Nothing. He just went out going crazy and I defended myself. He's probably in the city." As Midnight does know that Endeavor does have a reputation for being a bit excessive, and since she is one of the few people to actually know Todoroki's background, she's really not surprised that Endeavor would go to such lengths in order to push Shoto. So she ignores it. However, Shoto knows better. He knows his dad wouldn't intentionally start a fight with a high schooler. This is not something his dad would normally do. Sure, he was tough on him and was a complete and total piece of shit, but he's not the type to do that to other people, especially not in public where his image could be tarnished. So he gets really prepared, actually immediately bringing out the fireside. And this gets Deku excited, saying, "Oh, the almighty flame. Let's see how it handles this." As Deku just steps forward and claps his hands together, creating a huge sound wave that goes straight to Todoroki, blowing apart the ice and fire and nearly eliminating him. However, when Shoto goes flying backwards, he hits Deku's chest as Deku just brings his head down to Shoto's ear and goes, "Boo," before punching him straight in the side, breaking several of Shoto's ribs, which also ends up puncturing his lungs. Shoto cannot breathe properly. He's having trouble standing, as Deku then grabs him by the chest as he shocks him before getting a brilliant idea. He says, "Why don't we go ahead and even out the other side of your face?" As Shoto's eyes widen in horror, as Deku takes his electricity and puts his palm over Shoto's other eye, giving him an electric burn on his other eye to match, before bitch slapping him out of the ring, nearly killing him. Midnight says, "You are taking things way too far." As she steps up and puts her hand on Deku, Deku literally grabs her by the throat and throws her out, just saying, "None of you have what it takes to go up against me. Let me show you what the crowds really want. All of you, come at me at once. All the pros, all the teachers, all the students. It makes no difference to me. Let me show you a true battle. Allow me to show you true freedom." As all the teachers and pro heroes there would start trying to evacuate people, as the others would start charging at Deku, who would be beating them mercilessly. He shows them no mercy, actually killing some of them. And this is it. All of Class 1A charges in at Deku as Class 1B goes in there to try to help out the best they can. However, this is what Deku was waiting for. As he sees Bakugo, as he just simply blitzes by, grabbing him by the throat and flying up into the air, saying, "You know, you've always hated me. Even though we were just little kids, it didn't really matter to you. I was someone who you thought was beneath you, but the truth is, you are really beneath me. Even though I did nothing to you, I've always secretly hated you. It's about time I get rid of you once and for all. It's too bad you're not like me, though. If you were, imagine the things we could do together. Would we be an unstoppable duo, going all around the world, causing mayhem, mischief, doing whatever we wanted? It would be glorious, but oh, that's a dream for another time, Bakugo. See ya." As he would just start electrocuting Bakugo, giving him a full amount of torture before dropping him down. And as soon as Bakugo hit the ground, a huge lightning strike, bigger than anyone has ever seen, would engulf the sports festival and UA, completely destroying everything. Nobody would be alive. As Nezu and All Might finally get back, they see a giant crater right there. They can't believe their eyes. How could this have happened? And Nezu just gets onto his knees as he starts digging the rubble, trying to hold on hope that there could have been some survivors, any survivors, right? As they would see the tattered remains of a scarf flowing in the wind, as they would immediately rush over, All Might digging up the ground, seeing Aizawa's body pierced through with pry bar, shielding, or at least attempting to shield some of the students, as they would see the dead bodies of Mina, Uraka, and Ida, all right there. This would sadden All Might. The tears would start flowing down his face, saying, "Oh, how could this have happened? If only I had gotten there sooner, this would never have happened. He's really gone, isn't he?" As Nezu says, "This isn't him. I refuse to believe this is his true nature. After all, that gas did it. We should have been more careful. This is as much my fault as it is yours, All Might. Actually, it's more so my fault. We were given the duty of protecting and nurturing the next generation of heroes, and yet our most promising hero is now the world's doom." As all they would hear is laughter all throughout the sky, all around them, laughter going on. News cameras and choppers would start flying around, videoing everything. This would be broadcasting, as All For One, seeing this, he thought this would bring him joy. However, it brings him utter shock, horror, and disgust, saying, "What have we done? What have we done?" As Shigaraki says, "What do you mean, what have we done? We've did it. The heroes, a good majority of them are dead, gone. Nothing to disrupt our plans." As All For One says, "And who says we're gonna be on top?" As Shigaraki says, "Well, can't you just steal that kid's quirk?" As he shakes his head, saying, "No. After all, it was never a quirk to begin with." As Shigaraki would look kind of surprised and say, "What do you mean?" This is when Dr. Ujiko would enter, saying that Inko was a patient of his and All for One designated her the prime target for some genetic alterations, as he would put a comic book down on the table, as Shigaraki would say, "Oh, what's this?" as Dr. Ujiko would begin explaining, saying, "Look, these comics, some people think that they are just mere fantasy, something that could never have happened. However, those people would be wrong. Shazam was an actual hero in America, one of the world's greatest, a founder of the Justice League in some people's minds. However, the truth is he joined it rather later. But that is neither the point here or there. The point of the matter is, people feared what would happen if the Justice League was to ever disappear, and so it was a race to get the heroes' DNAs. Some woman got Batman's, Superman left the planet after his wife died, the Green Lanterns never came back, and the only thing special about them were the rings, so no point. Wonder Woman and the Amazons disappeared after a huge war broke out. That left Shazam, and luckily enough, his DNA was rather easy for me to acquire, as my ancestors acquired some of it during his battle with his arch nemesis, Black Adam. It was a glorious fight, I'm sure, but the DNA we got, it took time, but we were able to fully map it out and extract his power. We weren't sure if it would actually work, however, we tested it anyway. On Inko, more precisely, her unborn child, Izuku Midoriya. As Shigaraki gets what they're saying, that this is no quirk. This is the power of a god. As he says, "What about that gas?" And Dr. Ujiko just shakes his head, saying, "We've kind of enhanced the Joker's gas from back in the day. We had no idea the effects would be this catastrophic, but we had to find some kind of weakness. We were hoping to weaken him, put him out of commission for a while, hell, even kill him. But it failed. And now there might not be an Earth left for us to even rule anymore. There is no antidote." As All for One would go out, as he would say, "The League of Villains is done. Go and enjoy the rest of your days, whatever little time you have left. The world is ending soon." As he would go to find All Might, as All Might would just be kneeling in the ruins of UA, tears strolling down his face, with Sir Night-Eye walking up behind him, just in utter disbelief, because he knew that Mirio was attending the sports festival. He was watching the first years. It was one of his favorite things to do, to see how the newbies stacked up, and now he's gone. As he walks up to All Might, he's carrying roses as he places it down, as the civilians that are normal all come and start placing flowers down. However, everyone starts to get on edge whenever they hear footsteps turning back, all of them backing away from the man, as if they're clearing a path. All Might stands up onto his feet. As he looks back, he sees All for One right there, standing before him. After all these years of running and hiding, he stands before All Might at their final hour, and All for One kneels before All Might, saying that he's sorry. He didn't intend for this to be the outcome. It was actually meant to be used on All Might, as All Might's eyes would widen in shock, saying, "Why would you use it on me?" As All for One would say, "Well, for one, I knew you haven't passed it on yet. And for another, if I could bring you around to my line of thinking, maybe you would have passed it on to me instead, willingly completing what I've long sought after." As All Might would look at him in utter rage, saying, "That's why you did it? Because of you. Everyone, all of these future heroes, people's lives, their loved ones, the children that you took from their parents. You have sentenced the world to death over a quirk." As All for One would just lower his head, accepting any punishment. However, that's when they would start looking up, seeing a man in a hood with a red costume with a lightning bolt symbol on his chest fly down, as he would say, "Well, look at all the audience we have here, All Might. How about it? Want to get a little crazy? Tear up the town? Have some fun?" All Might would just stand there looking at him, saying, "I'm sorry, young Midoriya, for what you've become. However, now that you appear before me, I cannot allow you to leave. I have the deaths of hundreds to avenge." As Deku would just look at him and say, "You might want to bump those numbers up a bit." As All for One would look and see that he's covered in blood. As Deku pulls out from his cape the head of Tomura Shigaraki and drops it on the ground, as he says, "How about this? This should be a bit more fun." The two arch enemies teaming up to take on the greater evil. Ooh, I can't wait to see what happens here. As All Might looks at All for One, who stands on his feet and tells All Might, "No need to worry. I'll face whatever I have to after this, if we survive." All Might begrudgingly agrees, knowing that he's going to need all the help he can get, and all the quirks that All for One has collected and stolen over the years can finally be put towards something good. As the two would begin clashing, as Night Eye would be there acting as support, looking into the future and seeing no positive outcome. He would then launch himself into the fray, as Deku would just merely punch straight through Night Eye, and discharging enough electricity that he disintegrated Night Eye's body right there. However, All Might and All for One would be putting up a good enough fight. However, Deku is just catching them with one finger, deflecting every blow that they throw at him, as he just says, "Boring. Nice wind on that one. It's almost enough to cool me off." As they are getting more and more angry, All Might begrudgingly knows what he has to do. His body isn't going to hold up for much longer. So he takes a piece of his hair off and hands it to All for One, saying, "Eat this." All for One looks in shock. He's happy. He's finally getting what he's long sought after. As he eats it, and becomes All Might's successor. This catches Izuku's attention, saying, "What? Giving him hair to eat in your final hours?" And then Deku gets hit by a pretty strong blow, yet it does nothing, and says, "Well, you suddenly got stronger. What's this? It's as if you've passed on a power, All Might. Oh, you sly dog. You were holding out on me, weren't you, when we first met? To think you had this up your sleeve the entire time. Well, if you would have passed it on a little bit sooner, maybe these kids wouldn't have been dead. Perhaps somebody could have used it to withstood a chance against me. Well, no, not quite." As he goes over to All Might and tears him in half. All for One then begins his solo battle against him, and in about 30 seconds, he's killed with a massive lightning strike. Nothing can stop Deku now. He goes from country to country, destroying everything as he's watching the world around him burn, laughing his maniacal laugh. However, he hears a voice. "This world is doomed to die. Why don't you come with us? We'll go to another world, do it all over again. What do you say? Game?" However, that is a story for another time. And yeah, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, consider subscribing to the Golden Kingdom, where XBlick and I have done this. And yeah, we hope you guys honestly enjoy it. And if you don't, well, you know, kinda is what it is, you know? But anyways, thank you guys for stopping by, and we'll see you again in the next video. Peace.